Hello music lovers, welcome to my channel. My name is Caeser Pink.
Let your mama down. Let your mama down. Let your mama down. Baby, please.
Today we're going to listen to a song by the Alice Cooper Band called School's Out. But before we get started, please like and subscribe. All the proceeds from this channel are donated to the Arete Living Arts Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit that gives work and experience to struggling artists. And our mission is to create artworks that inspire personal, political, or spiritual awakening. And it doesn't cost anything to like and subscribe, but if you would like to support us, you can join our Patreon page, and you would also get access to some video material that's not on YouTube, or you can make a one-time donation, and I promise it will be greatly appreciated and go to the cause. Nobody's getting rich here, I guarantee you. It's all about the art. But anyways, the Alice Cooper group started in Phoenix, Arizona. They were high school friends, and I believe the name was, I don't know if it was some kind of local person or whether it was something from folklore, but they took that name as a band. Over time, it became identified with their singer, whose real name is Vincent Furnier, or Furnier. He was born in 1948 in Detroit. The band went to California. They were signed by Frank Zappa. He released their first couple of albums that didn't do much. Then they went to Detroit for a while, and that environment seemed to be a little bit more open to them. They had a crazy incident, became a bit of rock history. They were playing at a festival with a lot of people in it. I think they were between, who was it? Maybe Bob Dylan and the Doors or something. And somebody threw a chicken onto the stage. Now, Alice Cooper wasn't a country boy. He saw a bird, it had wings, so he assumed it could fly. So he picked it up and threw it up into the air. And of course it couldn't fly. It fell down into the audience, and the audience tore it to pieces. The next day, the newspapers, the headline screamed that Alice Cooper kills chicken on stage and drinks the blood. Of course, none of that was true, but it was a great piece of free advertising. And Frank Zappa called and said, whatever you do, don't tell people that's a lie. And looking back, this is, when was this released? In 1972. It's kind of hard to imagine how controversial Alice Cooper was. It was really shocking to people. He was one of the first people, along with David Bowie, to really take theatrics onto the stage on the level that he and Bowie did. But, you know, when you watch it now, it all seems a little campy, but at the time, people were outraged, people were shocked. I would have been in maybe 5th or 6th grade when the song School's Out came out, and it was everywhere on the radio. I loved it. It was enthralling. It was just such a great song. And let's watch a little bit of that. I believe what's going on in this video, it is taken from a television show, but I think the audio put on may have been from the recording and not from the live performance, but I'm not really sure about that. Anyways, here we go. School's Out by Alice Cooper in 1972. Now, their style of clothing was very flashy. At the time, the American music press usually referred to it as glitter rock, sometimes glam rock, but over time, over the years and decades, the term glam rock became more well known, and the term glitter rock has been largely forgotten. And one of the things I like about this is the drummer has his cymbals so high, and he's such a skinny, lanky guy that he's like a spider, reaching up to play in that cymbal. And even when he hits the toms, it looks like he's reaching up in the air with these long appendages. Let's look a little bit. Who were the musicians on this? Well, Alice Cooper, as he became known, lead vocals. Glenn Buxton, lead guitar. Michael Bruce, rhythm guitar, keyboards and backing vocals. Dennis Dunaway, bass guitar and backing vocals. And the drummer, Neil Smith, drums and backing vocals. Now, one interesting thing is that opening riff is one of the great riffs in rock and roll. And all these guys are alive except Glenn Buxton. But on his tombstone, they have the notes, almost like the sheet music to that opening guitar riff. I thought that was pretty funny. Now, Alice Cooper was interviewed about this. Somebody said, "What's the greatest 3 minutes of your life?" Cooper said, "There's 2 times during the year. One is Christmas morning, when you're just getting ready to open the presents. The greed factor is right there. The next one is the last 3 minutes of the last day of school, when you're sitting there and it's like a slow fuse burning." I said, if we can catch that last 3 minutes in a song, it's going to be so big. Now, I remember this being played on the radio in my hometown all the time, but apparently some radio stations banned the song from their airwaves, stating that the song gave the students an impression of rebelliousness against childhood education. I think most kids already feel some rebelliousness against education. But let's continue on with the video. Now, I really like that last part we heard. It's I'm not sure what the time signature is, but it's not the kind of thing you would ever hear in a hard rock song these days. After being so aggressive in the early parts, it sort of lays back, and the vocals are treated with some kind of, almost sounds like it's coming from a telephone. You also notice there that you hear the child laugh and then a group of children begin singing. Now this album was produced by Bob Ezrin, a great producer, and Bob Ezrin also co-produced Pink Floyd's The Wall album. Apparently one of the reasons they brought in Bob Ezrin is because they wanted to have school children singing, and he had experience with that from this song. So he came in to, I think he co-produced the whole album, but especially the Another Brick in the Wall song that features the school children. The structure in this is kind of interesting. It has a verse part, which is the riff, and then a B verse part, which is just kind of a driving single chord. And then it goes to the chorus, and then it goes to this odd post-chorus that we just listened to, and it repeats that structure twice, and then goes out with the chorus again. But it's not a radically unusual structure, but it is a little different than the cookie-cutter pop structure we usually hear. Was a different recording than the live performance. Right at the very end there you could see the lips didn't sync up. I thought the bubbles were a strange addition to the performance. It's kind of like Lawrence Welk went to hell or something. Alice Cooper's eye makeup was a signature part of his persona. There were some slight variations on it, but those eyes were like a logo that everybody knew. Now, one of the things fun about this album, I remember getting it when I was in grade school, and the front of it looks like an old school desk that's been carved on, the band members' names and a lot of strange things carved on it. But it also folded out to become a desk. Underneath there were legs that you could fold out, and then it opened up like an old-fashioned desk where the top folds up and then you have the space in there to put stuff. But when you opened it up, the album was in there and it was covered in a pair of girls' panties. And there's even more of a story with this. Their manager, Shep Gordon, was kind of brilliant as far as trying to get promotion for this unknown group. And he had studied the person who had promoted John F. Kennedy when he was first running for president. And so what Shep Gordon did was he ordered these panties from Europe, but the panties were illegal in the United States because they were not flame retarded. They could actually catch on fire. So what he did is he anonymously called the Coast Guard and warned them about these illegal panties coming in. The Coast Guard seized the panties, and it made a big ruckus. Headlines all across the country, even on mainstream media and news outlets, saying things like, Alice Cooper's panties too hot to handle, and all these little tricks he pulled helped Alice Cooper become known, and people would take these things and embellish them and make up new crazy stories. And I always thought that was so funny when I read about it as a little kid, and for better or worse, tried some of those things myself. But I thought the album cover design was brilliant. It was fun. And even his next album, Billion Dollar Babies, had a very elaborate conceptual album cover as well. Now, I have a story about this song myself. When I was a senior in high school, they called our class and the one before us the worst that had ever passed through the high school, Chief Logan High School I went to in Mifflin County, Pennsylvania. And they called us the Vietnam generation. They seemed to think that somehow the Vietnam War, even though we were too young to fight in that, somehow it affected our minds and affected our ability to obey authority. So anyways, for our senior year, they wanted to install authority, a sense of respect for authority. So they got this new principal. I can't remember his name, but he was an ex-Marine, and a new vice principal. His name was, what was his name? His last name was Baker, and he had played for the New York Jets the year they won the Super Bowl. And this guy was such a bigot and such a fascist. I had long hair. At one point, it was in this huge afro. By my senior year, it had kind of split in half and fell down, kind of a Robert Plant look. So the first day, I'm in art class, first period, and it was a pretty casual situation. I loved being in art class, but I went out to the bathroom, and on the way back, I heard this low voice saying, "Hey, Fuzzhead, hey, Fuzzhead." Now, you know, there were a lot of backwoods cretins in my school, and some would hassle me and bully me about my hair and about how I dressed. But when I turned around, it turned out to be the vice principal who was doing this. And he came up and had some words and threatened me. I guess because I was out without a bathroom pass. And then, a week or two later, something happened in the lunchroom. I forget what it was. But I think they installed some new rules that you get in line to get your lunch, and then you have to set in exactly that and fill in these spaces. But he came up to me and he started poking me like this with his big finger, and I can't remember what he's even saying, but that poking in the finger, that to me, that was bullying. And these days, if that happened, you could sue the hell out of them, but that was a different time. This would have been 1978, 1979. So then a couple months later, I was late for school one day. My mother was trying to help somebody jump a car, and the car battery blew up in her face. So my father used the other car and took her to the hospital. I got to school and was late, didn't think anything about it. I wasn't late that often, and didn't seem like a big deal. So later that day, I find out that I have to take detention the next day because I was late. The problem is I had a job. I had to go directly from school to my job, and I thought earning a wage so I could survive was more pressing than sitting in a room as punishment for being late. So I didn't go. I went to my job. And then they wanted me to sit in a room, like a small room, by myself for 3 days as punishment for not going to detention. When the time came to do that, I didn't do it, so they said they were going to throw me out of school. So the next day, when I wasn't supposed to come to school, I came anyways. I was in my art class, and this ex-football player comes, and we have a big showdown in art class. He's telling me to go. I'm refusing to go. It's like dead silence. Everybody's looking. And I fought it. I wrote letters to the newspaper, to various other people. I talked to the superintendent of all the schools, and he seemed sympathetic. But at the end of the day, this was about, right or wrong, justice, fairness. That wasn't important. It was about teaching the students to have blind respect for authority. So I had to go through it all. The day off school, sit in the room for 3 days, take the detention, the whole works. So when they put me in the room, where the morning announcements came from, like the PA system was there and the microphone. And they had a tape where they would play, the tape had the national anthem and the pledge to the flag, which they would play every morning. So at the end of the third day, I stole the tape out of the cassette deck and took it home. And then for months, almost to the end of the year, they didn't do the national anthem or the pledge to the flag. Then something else happened. Oh yeah, this is a crazy story. We were in the lunchroom and I was sitting beside my friend, and a chair had fallen over. So the same guy, this football player, vice principal, came. He picked up the chair and slid it in from the other side of my table and hit me in the knee. And I whispered to my friend, he hit me in the knee with a chair and it hurt. And he turned around like real angry. What did you say about me? And I got all nervous and I said, you hit me in the knee and it fucking hurt. And I didn't even swear when I really said it, but because I was nervous, I added the fucking in there. So he took me out to walk me to the principal's office. He was on one side and another one of the teachers on the other side. And our lunchroom had a big wall with glass the whole way. So he took me out the back and was walking me down the hall. And I used to be able to do, from a standing position, do a head roll, completely put my head in the ground very quickly, flip over, come out back on my feet. So as we're walking, I did that, landed on my feet, and started giving the Richard Nixon peace sign thing, and everybody in the lunchroom is jeering and cheering, and so over that incident, I had to sit in the room by myself for another day. But by that point, I'd re-recorded the tape with the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. And the vice principal's last name was Baker. And the next morning, I didn't come to school. So they did the morning announcement, started playing the tape. It played the national anthem fine, but then when it started the pledge, it said, I pledge allegiance to the flag. And then the opening notes of Alice Cooper's School's Out started, and then you heard my voice over the top of it saying, fuck you, Baker. And they played that for the whole school the next morning, and I had stupidly played it for some of my friends beforehand, so people were saying, oh, I heard that. And I didn't know what had happened, so when school was out that day, I drove my car up around to try to find out what happened. And everywhere I went, people were yelling, we heard you, people even I didn't know. So I assumed everybody knew about this, and I could kiss my diploma goodbye. I wouldn't graduate. But amazingly, they never even questioned me about it. Somebody told me that they asked this person, his name was Kevin Yetter, who did it, and he blamed it on a cheerleader. I don't know if that story true, but it's bizarre. But I never heard anything about it, and at the end of the year, both the principal and vice principal resigned from their position, and I felt proud that I might have played some role in that. But anyways, enough about my misspent youth. Let's look at the lyrics of this song. Well, we got no choice, all the girls and boys, making all that noise 'cause they found new toys. We can't salute ya, can't find a flag. If that don't suit ya, that's a drag. School's out for summer, school's out forever. I'm bored to pieces. Then the after chorus verse. Well, we got no class. That's a great double meaning. And we got no principles. Another great one. And we got no intelligence. We can't even think of a word that rhymes. I always found that one funny. Even as a little kid, I got it. Goes on, well, we can't salute you, can't find a flag. If that don't suit you, that's a drag. School's out for summer, school's out forever. I'm bored to pieces. No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers, dirty looks. Out for summer, out to fall. We might not go back at all. School's out for summer, school's out forever. School's out with fever. I never knew that line before. School's out completely. School's out for summer. Great song, a great rebellious anthem, and I think, I don't know if that's Alice Cooper's biggest song or not. He had a lot of hits over the years, but anyways, thank you for visiting and exploring music with me. We took a deep dive into Alice Cooper, and hope to see you again soon.